One question that I often get from my students is, how can I work on hand synchronization? And today we're going to solve that question with 3 methods that I'm going to give you in this video. Here we go. I have finally found it.
What have you found, Dr. Jones?
The solution to all of my picking problems. The ZEN of speed picking.
We don't need that. We have YouTube.
And that's the problem. Let me explain. You see, on YouTube everything is for free, but there are a lot of misinformation and confusion about picking.
Traps.
Yes, one wrong exercise and... In the ZEN of speed picking you will have a step-by-step guidance to avoid those traps. With over 50 exercises, 10 musical etudes, 5 fun workouts and a bulletproof practice plan, I can finally achieve
godlike picking.
Yes, and when I click the link in the description box, I will get the ZEN of speed picking 35% off. Oh, and the good thing is, when I buy the ZEN of speed picking now, I can get the ZEN of sweeping 50% off.
It's like people only do things because they get paid. And that's just really sad.
Okay, now let's start the video. Hey guitar champion, what's going on? I'm 𝙎𝙤𝙢𝙚𝗏 back from my practice dojo and welcome to today's video. A few years ago, while working on a YouTube video, I realized, my hand synchronization is really not that good. And after that realization, I started to work again more on my hand synchronization, and especially the 3 methods that I'm going to show you today, they helped me a lot to go from this to this. But first, let's find out what actually causes hand synchronization problems. Well, in the interview that I had with the great 𝗗𝗏𝗦𝗖𝗟𝗓 on this YouTube channel, he brought a really interesting theory to the table. Hand synchronization seems to be caused by having inconsistency in the distance of movement from your left and your right hand. For example, when we're moving our left hand, we have to travel a certain distance going from the finger to the string. Now, if there's an inconsistency in that distance, like for example, sometimes the middle finger is like 2 millimeters away from the string, sometimes in different movement 3 millimeters away from the string, our brain has to correct that inconsistency in movement, and it's harder to calculate for our brain. Our brain loves consistency, and it loves when the finger always travels the same distance from being in the air to the string. Now, the next important thing is that these are methods and not licks. A lot of time people are asking me, what kind of lick can I practice to develop my hand synchronization? And there I always say, it is not important what you are practicing, it is important how you're practicing. So these 3 methods that I'm going to show you in today's video, you can approach them on every lick that you're working on that includes the left and the right hand. Alright, problem number 1 is the most common problem when it comes to hand synchronization, is that one hand is a little bit faster than the other hand. And there we first have to find out which hand is faster. And for that I always recommend to work on each hand individually. For example, let's say I'm working on a specific lick, like a scale run. Something like this. Then I not only practice my left hand individually, I also practice the right hand individually. And I do this by muting everything here on the string and then just check, okay, that specific lick I have 3 notes on the E string, on the low E string, 6 notes on the A string, 6 notes on the D string, 3 notes on the G string. And then I first practice 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3. Practicing these patterns with the right hand individually, of course with the click and with all the methods that are already shared here on this YouTube channel. And if you want to know more about my practice routine in general, then check the link in the description box. There I provide to you a full video where I explain my usual practice routine. So yeah, doing the right hand only and doing the left hand only. Now for left hand only, I think it's totally fine to mute everything as well as good as possible. So for example, using a string muter like fret wrap or groove gear, all these kind of things. Oh, if you don't have something like that available, use the good old dirty saw. Just put it here around and mute all the noise and all the stuff that is happening. Why do I think that this is a totally fine method when you're working on your left hand individually? Well, because we want to focus on movement. We want to focus on the consistency of the movement. We don't want to focus on muting everything correctly. Muting everything correctly is the step that comes after that. When we're only focusing on movement itself, I think it is totally okay to mute everything and to help yourself as good as possible. So you can have the full focus on the right thing. And when I'm practicing the left hand individually, I carefully check if really every note is there and not something like that accidentally happened. That I accidentally pull down the ring finger and the pinky, for example, at the same time. All these kind of little details that can cause to this inconsistency. So do it slowly, do it with a lot of awareness and consciousness, and then move on to the next method. While working on my hand synchronization, I remember two methods, which are the next two methods that once showed me my piano and saxophone teacher back in university. There I had a few semesters learning with 𝙙𝙤𝙢𝙚, who's a really great experienced saxophone player, and he showed me some of his approaches, some of his way, how to make music, how to improvise. He showed it to me as a guitar player from the saxophone and piano playing perspective, and there we talked about hand synchronization, and he showed me some really cool exercises that piano and sax players are doing for hand synchronization, and it was really helpful to adapt that as a guitar player as well. The first method is called preparing the note. So we're going back to the lick that I'm practicing, and what I want to do now is I always want to prepare the second note that I have in order, and I want to play it as fast and as quickly as possible, going to the third note in that order. So I take my time with the first note, playing it and really preparing the next note and the upcoming note after that as well. So I have, so again, played the first note, preparing the next one, and then seeing if the distance is correct, and then I go as quickly as possible to the third note. And there I check if my right hand is together with my left hand. Something like this is happening. Or like this. Then you should go back and you should focus again more on the movement. Get your focus on the right and the left hand. It is like a surgical strike, where you really know, okay, now I'm striking. I'm striking as fast and as quick and as synchronized as possible. And then you continue with the rest of the lick, of course. Here it's important to be really, really fast in your playing. Try to do it as fast as possible, but still synchronized. So don't do something like... No, there you don't give yourself enough focus to prepare everything. Take your time with the longer note, with the first note. Like really breathe in, really get ready, and then strike with the next two notes. And of course, to have a little bit of variation, you can start on the second note, that is usually the fast note, and start with that as a slow note, and then you turn it around. And every note that before that was a slow note, now becomes the fast and the quick note, and vice versa. Right, and now we're going to check out the last method that is also one of my favorite methods when it comes to hand synchronization. I do this exercise like in the first few minutes before I start with my regular practice routine. So for example, when you're working on a certain lick and you have your practice routine, like starting slow and increasing your tempo, or doing the marathon method or the 7 of 9, or all of the methods that I shared here on this channel, do this like 5 minutes before that, and it can instantly help your hand synchronization problems. And for this method, we need a special friend, the metronome. My phone is unfortunately not charged right now, so I have to rely on this old school kind of metronome thing, but it will definitely work for this method. So set your tempo of the metronome on a little bit slower tempo. Like for example, let's do 80 BPM. So now what I'm going to do is I play the notes of that exercise as quarter notes, not as 16-note triplets as it is intended, as quarter notes. And I'm not only playing them on the click, I'm playing them in between the click. So it will sound like this. Here, be careful that you're really playing quarter notes, that you don't play it staccato, bound these notes together, and that it does not sound like this. And as well, take your time to focus that each hand is playing and striking the note at the same time, so that something like this won't happen. Or like this. So, but why am I doing this? What is the purpose of that exercise? It is there to focus yourself on the consistency in your movement and the distance that we have to travel in the right and in the left hand. Because you instantly will feel when something is odd. And when something is odd in this exercise, go back to that movement. Work on that specific movement. Really check, okay, are both hands together? And then repeat, repeat, repeat. Why am I doing this in between the click? Because it is another really good exercise for our calculator up here. Because we not only have to focus to move the right hand and the left hand simultaneously, we also have to focus on the correct point in time when to hit both of these notes. Our click does not give us the information when to strike those notes. We have to calculate it by ourselves, that it's really in between that. And if you want to challenge yourself a little bit more, then try to do the 60 notes after it, the 60 notes before the click, or increase the tempo a little bit. But again, I highly recommend to do one of these exercises like 5 minutes before your original practice routine. And with a focus on the correct movement of both hands, it will definitely increase and help with your hand synchronization problems. So much for today's video. I hope you liked this little lesson, this little video. If you liked it, then consider subscribing to this YouTube channel. And if you want to have more challenges and licks, then consider checking out the ZEN of SHRED Academy, my Patreon Academy. You can find the link in the description box. I hope I'm going to see you there. Otherwise, I'm going to see you in the next video. Cheers and power your progress. Bye.